Oh yeah, you guys know this tune? I think it should be the theme song for YouTube. What do you guys think? And it really doesn't have anything to do with the rest of the video. I just wanted to give you guys some music, and I made a PDF of the notation and tabs if anyone is interested in checking it out. And I figured since this is coming out around Thanksgiving, I would put this one out for free on Patreon. All you have to do is click on the link in the description and it'll be public to everyone, alright? So you can enjoy that. And like I said, that is the only guitar playing that'll be in this whole video because I desperately need to change these strings, and I don't know if anyone else can relate to this. If you do or know anything about this, put it in the comments. But I have a round G string and it basically keeps getting unwound every time, I keep playing on it too long. So it kind of gets frustrating and, the strings get dead and all that. So I really didn't want to play too much on it, Anyway, my name is Derek Plavin and welcome to episode 50. If you're new to this channel, this is basically a free online jazz guitar course that unfolds in a logical manner and keeps building upon itself. So if you want to benefit the most, I would really go back to the beginning and try to go in order as much as you can. I know that the videos are long, but what you could do is watch this video here today first since you clicked on it, and if you like it, then you can go back and watch the first 3 or 4 episodes and then you can take it from there. And I'm also available for private lessons and have a lot of accompanying PDFs to go along with a lot of the videos on this channel that are available on my website and Patreon. So, as you can see, this is the most clickbaity title that I'm slinging to you guys so far, and you're probably just waiting to have your hopes let down, thinking that I'm going to give you the solution to all your jazz problems, only to be let down by some underwhelming and unoriginal piece of advice that doesn't really help you in any meaningful way. And I'm here to tell you that you may be absolutely right about that. But then again, maybe this video will be different. Maybe this video will be the kick in the ass that you've been waiting for to initiate some real progress and change. But you're just gonna have to watch and see. Alright, in all seriousness, I am gonna share one piece of advice in this video that I think works pretty universally and has the potential to help a lot of people. Of course, as it goes with YouTube, I'm giving advice to an unknown audience, and I don't know the specific skill sets or practice habits of any individual viewers. And you may already be doing what I'm going to be talking about today. However, if you're someone who's been watching my videos or not, maybe you're just in general trying to learn how to play jazz guitar and you feel like you're not progressing fast enough and you're truly serious about trying to get better, then what I'm going to say today may just be the thing that you need to hear. Now, when you hear what I'm about to say, which is basically this generic reason why you may not be progressing fast enough, you may not be too excited by the answer. It certainly isn't a glamorous answer, but again, if you're truly someone who feels as if, you could be progressing faster, I would definitely listen up, hear me out, and not let what I'm gonna say go in one ear and out the other. And don't worry, the advice isn't just to practice more. Or is it? Maybe I'll let you decide. So, without further ado, here it is. The number one reason why you are not progressing as fast as you really should be is simply you are not doing enough reps. That's it. I could have ended the video right here if I wanted to. But, of course, you know me, what would a video by yours truly be without a rambly explanation and a detailed proof of concept? First of all, is not doing enough reps the same thing as not practicing enough? I'd say it depends on the person. If you're just not touching your instrument a lot and giving your guitar the love that it deserves, then yeah, you need to practice more, period. However, it's also possible that you actually are practicing a good amount with some consistency, but the inevitability of what you're doing isn't really leading to satisfying results. And this video here is really more for people who can relate to that second scenario there. Now, like I said before, I'm giving generic advice to an audience with whom I know nothing about. So personally, I feel a little self-conscious about essentially implying that there's one reason why the majority of all musicians aren't progressing fast enough. It comes off as pretty scammy to me, so therefore, let me try to explain how and why I may have come to this conclusion. Obviously, I don't know the specifics of any one thing that you might be practicing or how you're practicing it, but I think that a good example that really illustrates my point would be something like practicing your comping, and in particular practicing stuff like the Freddie Green quarter notes and Charleston kinds of rhythms, just like the way I specifically talked about in episode 26. I know that I'm generalizing when I say this, but I think that a lot of people, myself included, have at one time or another kind of felt like although we knew that practicing these fundamental comping rhythms was definitely important, it still seemed pretty straightforward and basic and relatively easy to memorize and relatively easy to play. Therefore, we may not have inevitably consistently practiced that stuff enough. Now, in that episode 26, as well as the other comping videos I put out, I explained that the primary reason why we want to practice this stuff a lot is because we're trying to really develop our feel. And unless you're fortunate enough to already have some consistent, steady jazz gigs where you can literally practice and work the stuff out on the gig, the only way that you're going to be able to develop this stuff consistently is with reps and practice. It's important to understand that even if we think something is relatively easy to play and understand, that doesn't necessarily mean that it will sound good without working on it enough, even if you are playing it correctly. Correct doesn't necessarily always equal good. Think about anything that you may have gotten good at in your life. Even these videos that I'm making here, if you've been watching all of them, you should notice that they're just getting better and better, and I don't even have to try to do that. It just happens naturally by putting in more reps or by making video after video. So that's why I always say, like, the real learning is in the reps. I've mentioned before in other episodes how if we hear something that we really think sounds good, we can often overlook the fact that one of the main reasons that it sounds so good is because of how exactly it's being played and the feel that it creates that goes along with it. It's not just about the contents of the notes themselves. This is subjective the way that I see this, but I think a lot of times people can wrongfully prioritize the notes that they're going to play more than the feel and execution of them. Obviously, the notes are still important, and it's not a one or the other kind of a thing, but for a lot of people, it can often take a lot of time and experience to truly acquire an appreciation for the importance of things like feel, touch, execution, and even technique on a really deep level. One way that you could accelerate that would be by going to jam sessions and embarrassing yourself and making all the mistakes and learning from them, and even recording yourself and taking a closer listen later so you could really hear what you sound like and how you're fitting into the band. But you can also help yourself right now by just buying into what I'm saying right here. I briefly mentioned this in another episode, but There seems to be a quality within the culture of learning jazz music amongst the sea of all the styles of music that you can possibly learn, that jazz is somehow harder and requires a lot more advanced education and knowledge in order to be able to play it properly, at least compared to other styles of music, except maybe classical. Now, I'm not trying to say that there isn't necessarily any truth to that at all, but what I am saying is that it can inadvertently cause a lot of people to put too much focus on the wrong kinds of things. I've said before that there's a guitar playing component and a jazz musician component to what we're really trying to do. And when guitar players today initially get into jazz music, they tend to jump headfirst into being a jazz musician and never looking back to their guitar playing roots. Yes, we need to cultivate the jazz musician part of us just as much. But if you consider what I was just saying before about the importance of things like your feel and execution and whatnot, you may realize that it's really mostly the guitar playing part of you that is primarily responsible for those types of things. Okay, so you may be thinking right now that you're listening to the greatest hits of Captain Obvious or something like that, but I really think that this stuff needs to be stressed. To me, it seems that many aspiring jazz guitarists seem to approach their practice in a way where they're always trying to acquire the next thing, whatever that is, so that they can add it to the collection of things that they can understand and play. It's almost like we're being seduced away by any new piece of jazz knowledge. And because we think we're learning and discovering something new, this creates an illusion of growth and progress. Obviously, there's some growth happening if you're really learning something new, and most likely adding to your abilities as a jazz musician. But you should realize that you're probably not growing as a guitar player if you aren't doing enough monotonous reps of certain things over an extended period of time. There's no getting around the fact that you will never truly sound good, even if you are a relatively good jazz musician, if you aren't also a good guitar player. I know this is rocket science, right? I think that when we listen to great jazz music, because we may be hearing what sounds like endless great musical ideas pouring out of the musicians and spontaneously in the moment, no less, we can be deceived into thinking that in order for us to be able to do the same type of thing, there would have to be a ton of different things that we would have to learn ourselves before we could ever sound as convincing as they do. In reality, I think it should be more of an 80-20 principle kind of thing, where 80% of your results are coming from 20% of the things that you do. Now, I don't really want to get too much into the details of this here, since we really haven't gotten too much into specific practice habits yet. Although we're about to start, and when we do, I think that this stuff will really start to make sense a lot if it doesn't already. What I will say now, though, is that, in my opinion, you will improve and grow significantly more as a jazz guitarist by just doing monotonous, non-musical, purely technical kind of work than if you learned, let's say, 20 new, undeniably great jazz licks. Just as one example. I think the reason why it could be hard to realize this kind of thing unless you actually do what I'm saying here is kind of related to this saying that goes something like the enemy of the best is the good, meaning that a lot of us might think that just being able to play something generally correct and keep it together is, in a way, enough. But unless you work on something almost like it's a job, way past the point of it just being correct, you will never understand the potential of how much better you could actually sound. I'm by no means saying that your entire practice has to always be extremely strict and routine, and that you just do the same things over and over again forever and without anything new. But it doesn't mean that any sort of routine should be neglected or that you should just aimlessly go from thing to thing in whatever you're interested in. Yes, anytime that you pick up the guitar and legitimately work on something, it's good. But you gotta be real with yourself with what this really is. Playing and practicing music is supposed to be fun, but it's still just like everything else in life. You don't get good at anything unless you're consistently putting in legitimate work. I use this metaphor a lot, but you really gotta treat what you're doing almost like a gym routine. Think about this. Without a real understanding and execution of what I'm saying here, it would be like if you went to the gym and for a few days you decided to squat. And then after a few days you decided, okay, I know how to do the squat now, let's go try something else now. But you never gave yourself any significant amount of time to actually get good at what you were even doing in the first place. You have to make a choice. What do you really want to do? Do you just want to dabble and pick up your guitar and work on whatever you're interested in the moment, which is still cool? Or do you want to put in the work and just do what you have to do in order to actually make efficient progress? To me, putting in the real work is still fun because I just love playing the guitar. I'm still working on things that I enjoy, and because it's motivating and exciting to me when I confidently know that the things that I'm doing are working and giving me results and not just wasting my time or spinning my wheels. I'm gonna end this ramble here, but trust me, now that we're about to get into the specifics of what I'm actually practicing, I think you'll start to understand where I'm really coming from. So that's it. If anyone has any questions or comments or anything that they want to say about this, please put it in the comments. And in the next episode,
hope you're ready for the next episode. Hey,
we're finally going to be getting into all this actual practice stuff now for real. So you should be excited. I'm definitely, thrilled that we're finally making it to this part, all right? So if you enjoyed this video, I would appreciate it if you gave it a like. Consider becoming a subscriber as well as a contributor to Patreon, where you get all the PDFs on this channel for only $5 a month. And if you think anyone else would enjoy the content, please share it with them as well. And I will see you guys in episode 51.
Swinging and playing the blues. That's what we about.
I try to help you.